77571. That's a 7. Well, joining me this morning, in fact, my first, I had my first real radio interview yesterday with the Chamber of Cable area, and now John Posh is sitting here in the chair with me at the studios of WJB. John with indiGO. Good morning, sir. How are you doing?
Good morning. Happy New Year, Mark, and Happy New
Yeah,
Year
I
to our
know.
listeners.
Haven't
Do you
seen you
really?
till last year was the last time I saw
Yeah,
you.
it's been like forever. You know that this is an anniversary too. Eric and I started this 2 years ago in January,
Oh, okay.
and now you've taken over, and it's
Yeah,
still rolling. That's cool. I'm
yeah,
happy with that.
it is. It's been going well.
So, yeah,
Well,
we generally talk a lot about aging because we're doing that, and and we're like on that
we're doing
cusp
it.
of thinking about retirement. That one thing I've noticed is my resistance to temperature has completely flipped. I it's unbelievable. I don't handle cold like I used to. Running out in a t-shirt in the cold doesn't happen anymore. That is over. Those days are gone.
Yeah,
But sweating doesn't happen in the summer like it used to.
really.
Yeah, it's just so
Mm,
so different.
I haven't noticed that yet. I've always loved the chillier weather than the hot weather. I'm not very tolerant for heat, and that's why I haven't moved to Texas or Florida yet. But I know temperature does that play an effect on people as we get older. We're just not as resilient with that. We're not as resilient with some extra activity during the day, like I had yesterday, and it was really difficult for me to stay awake last night. But anyways, um, yeah, a lot of different things start to wear on us, and some people are different than others. Some really don't really have that. I know I do. I know you do. It's just here we are. Well, the new year happens, and a lot of people put together some dreams and ideas of what they would like to do this year, where they want to go, what they want to accomplish, and some people call them New Year's resolutions. You don't like to call it resolutions. What do you call this?
Well, it's funny. I mentioned this to a friend of mine. We used to work in a studio in Eau Claire years ago, and a terminology was to say, well, with elect, electronic equipment to tweak it. Now you can't say tweak, meaning to adjust.
Yeah,
And
right.
basically, I adjust, and
Okay.
instead of I had to adjust my coffee. I
Yeah,
noticed it sometimes if you really pay attention to what your body's doing and how you're acting, you notice things. So I just changed. I have a fairly large cup in the morning, but I was doing two. And now took the second cup and I take that maybe about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, which
okay.
at this time of the year with the seasonal affective disorder and the darkness that we've been experiencing,
Yeah,
that's had a quite an impact on me. I've noticed just the energy level not being there, especially like you make it through supper and it's like, okay, I am ready to sit down and I'm done.
you're done. Yeah, in fact, if you sit down, you're done. If you
Yeah.
stay up and active, you might last a little longer, but
Get an extra half hour or so. But that half hour is still a productive half hour.
yeah, I'm down to excuse me. I'm down to 2 cups of coffee myself. I was just telling Jake this yesterday. We were at lunch, and, the waitress came up and said, "What are you gonna have to drink?" And I thought, "I'm not gonna order coffee this time. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I really just have 2 cups in the morning when I'm here, and that's it. And then I leave the leftovers in the coffee pot for whoever comes in and visits, or Angela or intern that comes in. But I used to drink a whole pot by myself
Mhm.
throughout the day, and it just wasn't quite right. So again, an adjustment for me, it really wasn't some sort of a resolution to say, "I'm gonna quit coffee." No, I just thought, I'm just gonna cut back, and that's, but the New Year's resolution for me, or the adjustment, is, I was diagnosed with pre-diabetes.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, okay, now I know I have diabetes in my family. My dad had it, my dad's mother had it, and I just don't want to go through what I saw them go through. And if I can prevent it, I'm going to prevent it. So I'm doing a medical weight loss package right now, and we'll see. This is the second week, and I've lost a few pounds. My thought is, if I can adjust enough with some medical assistance, I'll feel better, feel more energized because have lost some weight,
Mhm.
and then hopefully be motivated to keep moving forward with more activity. And that's my biggest goal this year, is to be in motion as much as possible. Now, it's really hard when you work at a radio station because you're sitting down a lot. We're not up and around. We sit behind this console and or sit in front of it, and we're just sitting here. And I'm just my sedentary lifestyle over the past, well, probably 6 or 7 years has just not been good for me. So I need to get more active, but again, this extra weight has been discouraging, and it's about time that I just say, you know what, I need to make some changes, because pre-diabetes is the next step to the actual thing, and I don't want to go there.
You know, and very similarly, I made my change about 7 years ago in January. It
Okay.
wasn't a resolution. I ended up getting my doctor to fight for a spinal injection in my neck and my lower back at the same time, so that I could actually begin to move and work on stretching and exercising. And,
Yeah.
it did work because I did it right away. And the thing was is I told my doctor, because the insurance company didn't wanna pay for both of them at once.
Sure.
And I told him to fight for me and I'd prove it to him, so then that put me on the hook. Part of it was, and I lost, about 35 pounds,
Okay.
and that was huge. I did a fast. I'm just not gonna eat. I'm pretty stubborn. So if I decide I'm not gonna eat for a day, I just won't eat. Whatever, I'm used to pain. I mean, if you've been in pain a lot, it's like, so what? It feels lousy. So what? That's normal. You
You're
know,
stronger than me.
well, it's weird because after you get over a certain hump, the hunger pain goes away. It gets
Right.
really strong,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden it's just
It's
gone.
gone. Yep.
And I think that really helped to set me on pace to lose that weight quicker, because then your stomach shrinks. And basically, I tried a little bit of isometrics, which is, I noticed that when I drive, I'm just sitting there, so why not hold my gut in? My dad used to tell me that when I was young,
Oh,
sit up straight, hold your stomach in, and it won't protrude well over your belt. And I started doing that, and I found, wow, I could do this like from Trigo all the way to Eau Claire
yeah.
without a problem.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then you get used to doing that and you tighten up those muscles, then the amount you need in the future is that much less because
Sure.
it's tighter. There's
Yep.
less room to fill it up and you start getting full, and you notice that you're not eating the quantity that
Right.
you were.
Yep. Yeah.
And that was a big part. Every morning I do my exercise routine. I'm like you, I get up early. I was up at about quarter to 4
Mm-hmm.
and have that cup of coffee and a little bit of vinegar and honey, and then start my routine. Well, the vinegar and honey is while I pack my back in ice, so that it just kind of numbs those painful
Oh,
parts,
okay.
and then just get right into the routine. And I do about 45 minutes,
Wow.
and none of it's real. It's not any weightlifting. I have no machines. It's
Right.
stuff you could do
You
for
don't
free. You don't have
you
to buy
don't
all.
need
You
it.
don't need
No.
a $5,000 machine to do what you could do without it.
Yeah.
And that's made a huge difference in my life because anybody that has lower spinal pain will relate to this. Coughing or sneezing was
Oh.
so painful that it would bring tears to my eyes.
Mhm.
That hasn't happened for over 5 years.
Mm.
So, once you start seeing the benefit, the thing that I think that keeps people from going further, they'll start this routine and think they're feeling good, and then they hit a wall and they don't see improvement. And it we are living in a century of instant gratification.
Right. Yeah.
You can start your car from inside your house.
Yeah.
That's way different than what we had 30, 40 years ago. Even 20 years ago, I don't think we had remote starts yet.
No, I don't think so.
So a lot of the things that you had to when we were kids, we got up so that we could change the television station. There's remotes for everything. There's houses that are you could make your house do things from away from your house with your phone.
Yeah, right.
So, turn the lights on, check now they got smart refrigerators that tell you what you need.
Yeah.
I think I'm smarter than I hopefully I'm smarter
Hopefully you
than
are,
a
yes.
refrigerator and I know
Uh,
what I need on my own. But that's some of the stuff that I notice. And I noticed they were talking about resolutions I this morning on NPR, and I get why people quit. They maybe never starting is just part of it, but the end result, that's what I looked at because I got to a point where I think I started when I was about 55 and thinking, well, I'm getting near retirement. What's that going to be like if I'm not able to walk or hike or do all these cool things that I like to do in the woods or go
sure.
fishing? What if I can't get in and out of the boat? And those questions kept
Right.
going through my head. Well, what's the point of retiring if you're not going to have any fun? And that kind of leads to other things that we'll probably be discussing here. One thing I've noticed that with people that retire is that loss of the sense of purpose
Yeah.
because you are needed when you have a job and you go to it no matter what that job is. You have this sense of you're needed. And then you got all these ideas in your head about what retirement's going to be like. Oh, I could sleep till I get up. I could, there's not any pressure and those pressures are gone. A lot of time people have these adventures that they want to go on and oftentimes they are successful, but I've seen a lot of people not make it to their adventures too.
Yeah.
And my idea is preventative. What can I prevent? Just like you're talking about the diabetes. Well, I'm seeing this in my family. I don't want this.
Yeah.
So, how do I adjust my lifestyle so that I maybe have a better retirement myself? Otherwise, I'm going to have new meds. I'm going to have
Right.
my life's going to go in a direction that is starting downhill earlier than I want it to be. And will it put a damper on what my retirement plans are? It's kinda you look at those AARP magazines and commercials, and they show people in their 50s walking down the beach holding hands thinking,
50s. I
"Yeah."
think they're in their 80s, aren't they?
No, they always get these really cute people
Younger
that
looking,
have
yeah.
money. They have lots of money, so they
Yeah.
retired real early, and,
Yeah.
they bring on movie stars and people like that into their stuff, and, well, that's different than the world we live in. We live in northern Wisconsin. We
Yeah.
a lot of the incomes that were generated in this area don't allow for that. A lot of people don't have 401ks. And I've noticed a lot more elderly people working.
Yeah. Lot
And
yeah.
I wonder sometimes if it's because you have to or because you want to. maybe lose your partner as you're aging, and something happens and your partner gets sick and you lose your partner, and it's like, well, I'm all by myself. Why not just work and have more money, get out a little bit of social activity, because I'm sitting here all by myself now
Yeah.
and I'm mourning the loss of my partner. Well, maybe put a little jingle in my pocket so that I could have a little bit more fun or be more generous, whatever you want to do with it. Um, One thing, I was talking to Jeff before I came in, and his mom and dad are 82 and 83 years old. And he said that they are busier than when they were working,
Yeah.
and they volunteer.
Most retirees are busier than they were when they were working, and I don't know how that works out. I'll find out soon,
Is
but
that is that retirees or successful retirees? Because successful is maintaining your health throughout. I mean,
yeah,
if they're in their 80s and busy,
yeah,
there's the satisfaction, like with their volunteer programs that they're taking part in. That gives a satisfaction of yourself. Like, I'm giving back. This is my
there's
tithing.
purpose.
This is what I,
Yeah,
yeah. And I'm seeing the impacts of what I do in my community. So that, I think that's really cool. And I would imagine that, well, I'm a volunteer here at WOJB, and I wonder when you guys are going to be able to kick me out. I love being on the radio. I love music, and it's a release for me.
yeah,
It gives me, now that I have this position, I was a cabinet maker and I designed different furniture, and I was always designing and creating, and now I have this job that's way, way different than that.
hmm,
But coming to the radio station allows me to be creative because of how I like to set up my radio show. And there's generally a purpose there or a message that I'm trying to convey. And that gives a goal, and it makes that volunteering so satisfying
yeah,
for me.
yeah. It does. Very cool. Yeah, I know a lot of people. Again, they're busier when they're retired, maybe because they're doing what they want to do, and they're having fun doing it. And so, if you find yourself either freshly retired and you're twiddling your thumbs at home and wondering what to do, I would just start to look for opportunities to volunteer in places of business or organizations that you would like to work in. It's find a habit that you could make a little extra jingle in your pocket. Again, some guys that I know turn to woodworking, and they do these little pet projects and get $100 here or there, and putting together some nice craft, and they get the satisfaction from that. But they do it not because they need the money or the jingle. They do it because it's the creative part of their lives, and this is what they do. For me, again, I'm a sedative person where I sit behind a computer and my creativity is all computer based. And how do I get away from that? Now, when I retire, I would hope I can get out more and not be working with a computer so much, but it's really part of my life. And I know for younger people than you and I, the computer and our screens, our phone screens and stuff, are far more part of our lives than we've ever had. So that's just stuff we have to take into account. Um, but anyways, I ramble on. I was talking about getting out more and being more active. I'm not a winter sports kind of person. I've never cross country skied. I've never downhill skied. I've water skied, but I was 15, 16 when I last skied on an open water on the lake. So my legs were not going to be as strong as they are. But I get out and walk at some of our big box stores here. We don't have a mall to
Right.
walk in, but I'll walk the big box stores here in town 5, 6 o'clock, and I'll do a mile or two because right now I'm just starting out, And this is something I've always done is in the winter go to these places. And what's nice is I am one walking, two, I'm a social person, so I bump into people
Mhm.
at the store all the time. Oh, how you doing? Yeah, I hear you on the radio. And I met a gal. I finally met you in person. I watch you on Facebook and I hear you on the radio. And it's like, yeah, well, this is me. I'm here at 5, 6 o'clock walking the hallways and doing the unfortunately, the problem with walking in the stores when they're open is that you do some impromptu shopping that you probably don't need to do, but it's cheap, it's free. I don't have to go to the local 24-hour, gym place, have a membership, and walk on a treadmill going nowhere. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just
I think that free is, and that's kinda where I'm at. I just designed my own routine to adjust to the places that needed the attention.
yeah,
My neck, my back, uh, my hamstrings were so tight from protecting the pain. You don't you change your stride, you don't walk the same way because
right,
when you step a little further, you get that stab and you change that. So then those muscles develop different.
yeah,
And getting those stretched out was just such a such a relief. It just took a long time. It took me about 2 years before I felt I was ready to be start looking for employment. It was
wow,
that bad.
yeah,
I and I don't have any meds, and they gave me lots of meds, lots,
mm,
to where you can't even think straight
yeah,
anymore.
that's
And
I don't care for that.
we put them we were taught though that the doctor is, we put them on their pedestal and
Yeah,
they're there. That's why they went to college forever. So that they know better than us. But we have to take a lot of our health care into our own hands because there's a lot of things that they can't fix. There is not a pill for
right,
everything.
right,
But I mean, if you watch TV, it's kind of like, well, we got a pill for this, we got a pill for that. We'll figure out what kind of vitamins you need. You can pretty much figure that out for yourself,
right.
especially now that there is the internet. As long as one of the things that I do is I try to, if I'm going to look something up, is to look it up through a credible site. I'll look through, Rochester. I'll look through the Cleveland Clinic. I'll look if they're putting it in, it gives a little bit of credibility. I don't know
Sure.
about some online Dr. Bob or something like
Right.
that. I'm not going to listen to them people.
You
But
mean the first people that show up in a Google search at the top aren't the right people to listen to? I don't understand.
well, credibility is really important, I think, when you're looking at your health. If somebody leads you down the wrong path,
Yeah,
you can have some severe consequences from that.
we're spending a lot of money and getting nowhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I like to, remain as frugal as possible because I see retirement in my future, and the one thing cool about being a little bit older is you don't need anything anymore.
No.
Once
Right.
in a while, you replace your socks and jeans and get a shirt here or there, and that's about it because you've already purchased out actually, you start getting rid of things.
Mhm.
That's the other part is kinda looking around and going, I went through this with mom and dad when they
Right.
got to a certain point, and then we had a whole house full of stuff we had to give away. Well, let's start giving it away now so we don't put the burden on our kids,
Yeah.
you know? Hey, Jeff brought in, a message from a listener, Pat,
Okay.
and, looking for a suggestion for a standing desk.
Oh, yeah.
And you had mentioned some of that the other day. One thing that I've noticed, I do have one, but I don't stand at it. Mine is kind of micro adjustable. It's electronic.
Okay. Yeah.
So because I'm a little bit taller and the way I sit, I make sure that mine's at like 32 and a half inches. It works good for my height. The main thing with desks is they always made them at 30 inches and that's it. Well, we're all different people,
Different heights and
different heights.
yeah.
Some of those desks that I've seen where you stand and it sits on top of the desk, it kind of pops up.
Oh, yeah.
I looked at them and I thought, well, you have to have your keyboard at the right height
Yeah,
too.
right.
So is your keyboard going to go up with it or not? You probably noticed, so every time I do every Monday after my show, the keyboard's in below the desk.
Yeah, right.
And that's just because the armrests, I would say that if you're sitting at a desk, you definitely want armrests. You want those to be adjustable so that they're holding onto your arms when you're typing at the correct level.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I do that too. Again, my arm here at the station, it's just right off and it's almost parallel. Has the armrests are a little lower, so my hands still curl over the keyboard, but we do that. Jeff and we've been talking a couple years ago. We talked about taking this desk in the studio and raising that to the 42-inch countertop height.
Oh, okay.
And then we have chairs that will reach that height so you can sit in a chair and still have that if you want to sit at that height, but you have now the option of standing. And that's just something that we really would like to have here is you can have that option of standing or sitting. As far as, an adjustable desk for the listener's question, there's a lot of stores out there that have these electronic height adjustable desks, and I would suggest that kind because you're right. If you went to the store and says, well, here's a desk, it's at 42 inches, which is kind of a standard countertop height, right?
36.
36 is
Yeah.
okay. But then you're stuck at that height, and everybody's different, and if they can't adjust it a little lower because they're shorter or their arms don't rest on it properly, then you can get out of whack. Your shoulders are out of whack. At home, I have a chair with the arm rests are not adjustable and they're really low. And after a while of having my hands
Your
and
neck starts to hurt.
holding my hands up for the keyboard, my hands and my neck and my shoulders more
Mhm.
than anything start to hurt because I'm constantly holding my arm up.
Right.
And
That's not a good position to
no.
be in. And that's
So
what the ergonomics is all about
yeah.
when they started doing that in office buildings because their people were in so much pain from sitting at a desk that wasn't right.
Yeah. And again, back in the days when they were, everybody had their steel desks, everything was at uniform height, uniform chairs had fixed arms. Now we have chairs with adjustable arms, we have adjustable desks. And an adjustable desk is, $150 or less for something pretty decent online. So if people want to look for that, and then again, if somebody like you and I, we do office work a lot, having that chair with the adjustable armrests is very key. The lumbar section, if you can get that adjustable,
Oh yeah.
that helps. And of course, the height of where that lumbar sits. Some chairs are fixed, but some of them, the backs can move up and down, and you can adjust where that lumbar actually kind of hits in the small of your back.
Right.
So,
Right. And I think that adjustable is basically what we're talking about here.
yeah.
You want the more adjustable things are, the better. And I know that with the desk this desk was purchased by indiGO
Okay.
for me.
Yeah.
And if I wanted, there's like 5 settings and you program in the setting for the height you want it. So if I were
Okay.
to stand,
Yeah.
it will come up. I could just press number 2. I want to stand, it stops there, and it's perfect.
Wonderful.
And that I thought was really, really cool because it may get to that point, but it seems like I'm on the run a lot. So I'm there for maybe an hour and then
Yeah.
I travel a lot, being that I cover 4 counties that keeps me going a lot.
Sure. Well, we've been talking about New Year's resolutions or maybe adjustments to our that we just say, hey, we need to make an adjustment to our lifestyle. We've been working on it for a while. One of the other areas for my physical health was stretching. I know I'm super tight because in some of my surgeries, my foot surgery and my knee surgery, very limiting in mobility and being cautious during the winter time. When I
Mhm.
had these surgeries, you're always tense and tight and just, and I just never get a chance to stretch out those legs, stretch out my shoulders. Um, a lot of senior centers, and I hate to say that I'm going to a senior center. I feel so old saying that, but going to
Um,
a senior center, they have great exercise programs,
yeah.
and most of them are in a chair, so you keep your balance and stuff. I know the one here in Hayward has um, those workout sessions twice a week, and they're very low impact, and it's just enough to get you one active, two stretched out, and three you have some people that you can connect with.
Yeah, Jody only.
Yes. Yep.
She's great. She likes what she does, so she's really good at it.
Yeah.
And, I think that that's a great idea because then you're learning how to do these things without hurting yourself.
Yeah.
And basically, my workout involves a lot of stretching. Uh, PBS, I think I've mentioned this before, has a show called Classical Stretch. Check that out. It gives you and if you have the computer, you could check out, "Hey, I got problems with my neck. I got problems with my shoulder. What stretches can I do to relieve this?" And you said you haven't had the time to do it. It's just that you haven't made the time.
Correct.
And that's
Yeah.
and what I call that is, kind of selfish giving because on one end you're making this time for yourself, basically because you need it, and you haven't
Mhm.
been for a long time.
Yeah.
So that's selfish, but at the other end is you're giving to everybody that you love because they get extra time with you. You're
Yeah.
extending your life, you're extending your abilities. It extends the amount of time between needing assistance.
Yeah.
The stronger and healthier you are. And we're talking about the volunteering. I went to the LCO elders meeting this past or last week, I think it
Yeah, it
was.
was last week.
And all those people that are part of that are doing something for their community. So there's that gratification.
Mhm.
I see Ellen Martin there, the head of the
Yeah.
and she looks great and she does a great job. So I think having that purpose again for the community and that keeps people active. Way better than sitting at home with the TV on watching reruns of
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah, I agree. I hear you. It's it is a workout just to get into those habits, whether you're continuing on with habits that you've already done or you're doing something starting an addition to your health. Again, taking care of yourself first. You're really no good to anybody unless you're taking care of yourself first, and then you can help other people. It's kind of like on the airplane when they tell you to put your oxygen mask on first before you help somebody else, because what good are you if you pass out trying to put somebody else's oxygen mask on, you know?
Exactly.
So help other people first. Well, Don, it's been got about a minute left. Anything that we missed on our
Well, we didn't
conversation?
miss it. It's just take some time for yourself. Dedicate 20 minutes. The length of if you could be as dedicated as you are to maybe listen to your favorite news programs or watch your favorite TV show, if you could take 20 minutes and dedicate just that to you, you may see some really, really good
good result. Now, and again, start small. I know people, probably one of the reasons why people skip out on their New Year's resolutions a couple weeks later is because they get all burned out from trying to do everything at once. You know, do little steps and take your time with it. Don't try to do it all at once. You just be disgusting. Yeah. All right, Don. Thank you for coming in. We appreciate it.
Thank
Don with
you.
indiGO, and you're listening to WOJB Reserve, Wisconsin. Time for Democracy Now!
From New York, this is Democracy Now!